Hello?
Yes, we can.
All right, thank you. So our topic is setting up a business in Nigeria, and in looking at this topic, would be considering a couple of things. Firstly, what are the forms of business registration you have in Nigeria? How do you choose a business name? Steps to register your business, cost of registering a business, then common mistakes people make when registering a business so that you don't have to make that mistake. That's the most important aspect of this webinar, to ensure that you are taking the right steps and you do not make mistakes that people have made in the past or that you might have thought of, but with this webinar, you'll be better informed. And lastly, post-registration and compliance activities for business. So after registering your business, there are some things you need to put in place to ensure that your business is legally compliant and runs smoothly to avoid paying fines or losing out on profits or scaling your business properly. So we'll just get right into it. So for forms of business registration in Nigeria, the law provides that you can register your business under these different forms. So it's either a business name, company limited by shares, company limited by guarantee, an unlimited company, a non-profit or non-governmental organization, which is popularly known, limited liability partnerships, and lastly, limited partnership. So you can pick from any of these forms to register your business. And also bear in mind that the law provides for certain forms. So there are certain businesses that you cannot register as a business name. There are certain businesses you cannot register as a company limited by guarantee, but you are supposed to register as a company limited by shares and with a particular amount of share capital. So that's where we come in. We help you do all of this work to ensure your business runs smoothly and is in compliance with the law. So for business name, this is basically a type of registration that is for sole proprietors or small partnership. So sole proprietor in the sense of a small business, like a one-man business. So you're just starting up, you are the business owner, you are the customer representative, social media manager, delivery person, you manage all of these things. You can register your business as a business name, or you have it in mind to start up a business through a very small means because you don't have so much capital to go so big. So you can register your business as a business name. And also partnerships. So there are certain small partnerships, let's say between 2 people, 3 people, 4 people, you can register under the business name because it's still growing. So what basically happens in this form is that only the name of that business is registered. So if the business goes into legal problems, or probably somebody wants to sue the business, or the business needs to be answerable to certain government policies or to the government, because as a business is recognized, it has a legal personality. But for business name, it is the individual, the owner of the business. So the names on the incorporation document, the names on the CAC document, which is the document that shows that this business has been registered with the government. And the Corporate Affairs Commission is the body in charge of registering businesses in Nigeria. So you would notice that most of business registration documents usually carries this name. So when there is a legal action, it is the person whose details are on the Corporate Affairs Commission incorporation documents or certificates that would be sued, because this business is still very small. It is resting on the individual. So that's for business name. And then partnerships. So for company limited by shares, this kind of company, it has what you call a legal personality recognized by law. So the business is separate from the individual or from the owners. So in this type of business, you have the director, secretary, board of directors, shareholders, and all. So this type of a business is registered, or this form of registration is done for large scale businesses, or it could be small scale, but because of the benefits attached, such as the business being separate from the owner, because for some people, they feel like the business should be answerable for whatever liability it gets into, and they should also be answerable in their personal capacity. So this kind of form of registration helps you to distinguish between the business and between you personally. So that's for company limited by shares. So in this type of limitation, as you can see, a company limited by shares is a company where the liability of the member is limited to the subscription on the memorandum and articles of association. And memorandum and articles of association is basically the incorporation document. It's part of the incorporation document. So it would be written, how much are you contributing, or how much are you subscribing to this company in terms of shares? So when the company is winding up, or probably there are legal proceedings against the company, so if you haven't paid up that share, you are limited to the amount, say 10%. If you say 10%, then you are limited to 10%. If somebody says 20%, the person is limited to contribute to pay up that 20%. So after payment of 20%, you are no longer liable for whatever the company requires you to do. The company would now be answerable for whatever legal requirements. So that's for company limited by shares. And company limited by shares can either be private or public. So, but the difference here is that a public company allows you to transfer your shares to somebody else. You can sell it. So if you notice, most of the companies that list their shares for sale are always public companies. So sometimes you might hear, oh, this company wants to go public and start selling their shares. It does allow for public companies because the government can put measures in place to ensure that the shares of individuals are protected. But for a private company, because you can't really meddle so much with their affairs, they are not allowed to sell those shares. So if they want to transfer the shares, it's under very strict settings that you can transfer those shares. And also for public companies, you are allowed to buy shares or debenture or deposit money for fixed period to yield returns. So most of these shares and stocks that are being listed for purchase in various companies, most of those companies are public companies because there are laws to ensure that the funds of these individuals are properly managed. So that's for company limited by shares. Then for company limited by guarantee, it's a company which is basically incorporated for carrying on business to achieve a certain objective and not necessarily to make profits for the members. So now this type of company, you set it up to make profits and plow back those profits into the company or for helping certain establishments. So it could be in the form of an NGO, it could be in the form of corporate social responsibilities for companies, or in the form of humanitarian acts. So this kind of company doesn't distribute profits amongst its members or shareholders. So there are no shareholders, you can't distribute profits. So what it seeks to achieve is that it just seeks to generate profits for a certain objective, and those objectives are not for the members or shareholders, but for somebody else. And in most cases is for corporate social responsibilities. So people either use the company limited by guarantee for humanitarian purposes or non-profit organization. But because setting up a company limited by guarantee has a lot of rules, and meeting up some of those requirements takes time, and it could also be difficult, people would opt for non-governmental organizations to register such objectives on that. So for unlimited company, it's basically a company where the shareholders are not limited. So there's no saying, oh, I subscribe to 10% of the company shares, So when the company is being liquidated, or when the company calls for shares or calls for certain obligations, I would say, no, I have paid up my 10%, or I have paid up this particular percentage, therefore I'm no longer obligated. No, but in unlimited company, you keep giving to the company. There is no limitation as to how much the company can require from its members or shareholders. So that's what basically distinguishes it from a limited company. So in an unlimited company, both the company and the individuals are liable unlimited, as opposed to a company limited by shares, where you are just liable to a certain extent, and then the company can be answerable for whatever. Then we have the non-profit organization, which most people refer to as NGOs, and the kind of I wouldn't call it business, but the kind of organizations that are permitted to register under the subheading are churches, humanitarian organization, community association, social clubs, like your old boys or old girls association, and all of that. So you can register such an organization under NGO. And NGO do not generate profits. So that's another thing. For company limited by guarantee, you're allowed to generate profits. You're allowed to go into ventures that would bring in profits. But for NGO, you don't generate profits for the organization or the members. You basically engage in activity to promote your objective. It's more like a humanitarian act. So you engage in activities that promote such objectives. And also, there's no share capital, there's no shareholder. What you just have is the board of trustees who would see to the proper management of the aims and objectives of the organization. Then lastly, the two forms of business registration we have are limited liability partnerships and limited partnership. I know you'll be wondering why partnership has been distinguished in this manner. So formerly, partnerships were allowed to register under a business name, but currently they are now allowed to register like companies. So for limited liability partnership, the partnership has a separate personality from the partners. Is similar to a company limited by shares. So you can run it like a company, but the difference is that you have partners, as opposed to, for companies, you might have one person who started out, or maybe about two people who started out the company, and then they now fell under the board of trustees, or might hand it over to somebody to be the board of directors. Sorry, I meant to say board of directors. But for partnerships, you are allowed to run it, limited liability partnership, you're allowed to run it like a proper company. And then for limited partnership, it's basically running it in two ways. So you're allowed to run it as a company and a business name. So we have the general partner and a limited partner. So the limited partner acts like what we would refer to as a director in a company, while the general partner acts like a sole proprietor in a business name. So it's basically the limited partner is limited to how much he contributes to the business. Normal, every partnership is supposed to have a partnership agreement that spells out certain things that are supposed to be applicable to the partners. But in this limited partnership, one person is limited while the other is general. So he's sort of unlimited. He can go as far as possible for the partnership. So these are the forms of business registration we have in Nigeria. Now, there are certain organizations that are not allowed to register under just any option form. You have to register it under either business name or company. For example, schools. So before, schools could register as business name, but currently schools or learning institutions are not allowed to register as business name, but you have to specifically register it under companies limited by shares. So you have to register it as a company. Otherwise, CAC would not allow you to register such a business. So this is part of the reason we have organized this webinar, so you can be better informed to know what form of business registration suits your business, and to also prevent you from going to register under a certain form, and later on you're told, oh no, you can't use this, you have to use this other form, and then you spend more money, of course. So how to choose a business name. Now, a name is the most important aspect of a business, because that is the first step for business registration in Nigeria. You always have to come up with a name. The Corporate Affairs Commission would always tell you, reserve a name. That's the first thing you do before you register any business under any form. So you have to reserve a name. And before you can reserve a name, you need to have come up with a name, not just any name, a name that is legally permitted. So to pick a name, the law requires you to avoid certain names. So a name that is identical or resembles an existing name. So let's say there's already a company known as, like Famous Advisory, for example. We're already in existence, we're registered under the Corporate Affairs Commission. You can't register a business with our name because it would confuse an ordinary man on the street. Let's say we are into production of certain products, and then you want to register your business to also produce certain things. So when you have these products in the supermarket, people are going to be confused. Okay, is it Famous Advisory, which is us, or is it another Famous Advisory? And quality differs. So there's a reason they would be going for a particular brand or a particular company. So the law tries to prevent such scenarios. If you can read my screen, you would see I made an instance. So Niger Chemist Limited and Nigeria Chemist Limited. These are real scenarios. So there were these two companies. Niger Chemist was already in existence, they had registered, and then another company came on, Nigeria Chemist Limited. So Niger Chemist Limited sued Nigeria Chemist, saying that, oh, you can't register a name that looks like ours, whether it's exactly like ours or it resembles ours. Now, they might be saying, oh, Niger and Nigeria are different, but in reality, it's not different, because if you're buying something, these are pharmaceutical companies. So if you're purchasing something, you might not be patient enough to say, oh, Niger is different from Nigeria. You sure they are not different products? Before you start doing all of that, you have purchased the product. So sometimes CAC might overlook these things, and they would not know, or the person approving these names would just approve it without looking. So that was how both companies were registered, and CAC did not prevent. But sometimes CAC will tell you, no, this is already in existence, or a name looking like this is already in existence, so you can't go ahead. But if they allow you, then the company that is already in existence can sue you. So to prevent all of this from happening, you have to pick a name that doesn't clash with another company. So when you are registering a business, you do your name search, and then you apply for such a name. So even if you do your name search and you see that, okay, that name is available, CAC might check their own record and find out that, okay, somebody has registered this name, so we won't allow you to register such a name. So the same with daily need pharmaceutical and daily needs industries. So it can be assumed that both names are similar, or both are similar companies. So the court stated that, yes, these names are similar, and the other person has to drop it or pick another name. So you have to ensure, firstly, that your name is not similar to someone else's name. And then secondly, the name you're using for your business shouldn't have the word Chamber of Commerce, unless it is a company limited by guarantee or it's a government establishment. So if it has that particular name, the Attorney General of the Federation, which is one of the requirements of registering a business under a company limited by guarantee, must have consented to you using such a name or registering such a business. So if it's just a normal business, you can't put Chamber of Commerce, or if it's just a regular learning institution, you can't say add Chamber of Commerce to the name, because it is confusing. People might think, oh, Chamber of Commerce, or this has to do with the government. So you can't register a business with such words. and then a name which, in the opinion of CAC, is misleading. So if CAC feels that you are offering this service and your name is a bit misleading, they have the choice to decline approval for such a name, because to them, the ordinary man on the street might be confused as to who owns what, or what does this company do, or is this name offensive? Is it contrary to public policy? Are there certain laws put in place? And does this name offend certain things? So having a name that offends religion or conflicts with certain religion, it will not be approved. Or having a name that conflicts with certain laws would not be approved. And also, CAC can, on its own, they have a right to decline the use of a particular name. So if you feel like a name doesn't make sense, they would decline such use. And from our experience at Famous Advisory, we have seen this over the years whilst applying for business names for people. And sometimes a customer can insist, oh, no, I think I want to use it. So when you finally help them apply to show them that CAC would not approve the name, and then CAC will tell you, no, you can't register such a name. So that's for that. And then a name which, in the opinion of CAC, violates an existing trademark or business registered in Nigeria. So please take note of one thing. Even though your business is registered, somebody else can trademark your business name and they would not register the business. So the safest way to protect your business name after registering it with CAC is to trademark that name. So if somebody has gone ahead to trademark such a name, you can't register a business with that name. So like top brands we know, Puma, Gucci, and some other names that are trademarked, you can't register. You can't come over to CAC and say, okay, I want to register my name, this name as my business name. So that's why we tell you that even though we do a name search and on CAC portal, we say that, okay, nobody is using that name, CAC can come up and tell you that you are not allowed to use this name because they have access to the trademark registry. So they can also go and search there before approving such a name. And when they confirm that this name has been trademarked, and when we compare the particulars of the person who trademarked that name and the person coming to register a business with such a name, then, and it doesn't match, then they would decline, except of course there is an approval from the person who trademarked the name saying, okay, I think you can allow this person use this name. I really don't care what he uses the name for, and I'm not interested in his line of business. So they would go ahead, because if you can get the consent of the owner of such a name, then you're allowed to register that name for your business. So like I earlier said, even if CAC allows you to register a name, the owners of such a name can sue you, and what they can come under is called passing off in law. So they can sue you. So to prevent legal action, and we know that legal action is bad for business, for your business brand, is bad for the look of your business. So to avoid all of this, avoid such names. And also, there are names that are restricted for certain organizations, and you have to get consent. So it's not like you can't use this particular names, but it is reserved for certain organizations. And before you use such names, you have to get consent from the appropriate bodies to use such names. So names that contain federal, national, regional, state, government, or words that suggest that such a business or company enjoys patronage from the federal government or any ministry. So we can register a company called XYZ Lagos State. Such a name, to people out there, they will think, okay, this company or this organization belongs to the Lagos State government, not knowing that it's an individual that actually owns that business or establishment. So to prevent all of this confusion and clash, they reserve these names for the government. They reserve these names for a particular ministry. So you can use these words, add these words to your business name. And then words that have municipal or chartered, you can add such a name to your business, because to CAC, it would suggest that you are in connection with such an organization or such body. So I can give you an example quickly. There is, I know somebody who wanted to register a name that had Institute of blah, 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 Nigeria. So CAC queried such a name, stating that, okay, you have to get the approval of this ministry, the ministry in charge of in which this business would be under, before we would approve such a name, because to them, such a name belongs to that ministry. And before you can use it, the ministry has to give approval saying, okay, we are not interested in this kind of an organization that this person is trying to set up. We permit this person to use such a name. The person can go ahead and use it to portray that it belongs to Nigeria, but the person is answerable for whatever. So in that case, the person had to get consent from the ministry that was in charge of that business before CAC went ahead to approve. So they would give you a certain number of days to obtain this consent. And if it's not obtained, then they would either decline or they can approve, saying, okay, you can go ahead, and the person who or ministry who is disputing such can come on later. So names that contain the word cooperative or building society. So normal, building society, it means that this organization is linked with government or is linked with a particular body under government. So it's not that you can't use this name, but you have to get consent to use this name, and you have to explain why you want to use this name. That's why it's restricted. So it is restricted. They have to look into such situation before they approve using of such name. And then names that contain group or holding. You can use this name. So I'm sure you'd have seen blah, blah, blah group of companies or so and so holding company. So before you can use such a name, you have to have done what is required by law, gotten the consent of whatever body is in charge of that particular name before you can make use of it. So that's how we advise that you make use of our consultation sessions before registering your business. So we talk about all of this in choosing a business name to avoid spending unnecessarily for name reservation, because if you do not have this information, you will just keep on reserving names, and they'll keep on declining, and they won't tell you why they are declining. They won't tell you that, oh, this one that you have reserved and we decline, don't bring this and this next time because we'll decline. So so when you keep using such names, they will decline, and then for every reservation, money is being spent. So now we'll go straight ahead to how to register your business. So if you've picked the form of business you want to register and you've also chosen the appropriate name, now you can get right into registering your business. So the first thing, like I've mentioned, is name search. So you do a name search to ensure that that particular name doesn't already exist or is not closely linked with another one that exists or is not similar to one that exists. And then when such a name is available, you go right to reserve the name. So a name is reserved for 60 days. So if you reserve a name today, for the next 60 days, that name would be yours to make use of. So you don't have to immediately do the next steps. You can take your time. If you feel like you have certain things you want to consider, that name would be reserved for 60 days. So after 60 days, if you do not make use of that name or you don't complete the registration process, they'll pull that name out of the system. So somebody else can pick it up if you don't use it during that 60 days. Somebody else can use the name. And if you want to use such a name, you have to do name search. And if it's still available, then you can make use of that name. So after that, upon reservation of your name, you upload the necessary documents, and those documents some are particular to your business. So different forms of business with different registration documents or details, and then that will be uploaded. CAC does registration is done online, so there's no physical office that you go to submit your documents or your application. It's basically done online through an accredited agent, or you can do it yourself, but you can only register one business for one person. So that's why most times it's better to go through an accredited agent And at Famous Advisory, we are accredited agents for business registration. So we can help you do both your pre-incorporation and post-incorporation activities. So next is payment of the required fees. So after uploading your documents, you pay the required fees by CAC, and then your registration will be considered. So during this period, this is when they would look into the business name again. Remember, they approved a name for you to use, but whilst then considering the registry application, they can go back to the name and say, okay, we think we've seen this name somewhere, or we think this name looks like another business that is already in existence. And then they would query such a name. So you have to work on it. So there's provision to substitute your name. Even if they've approved the name, you can change your name to get your registration approved. Then they will also consider, okay, is this business under the right registration form? Is this person trying to register a business name when he or she is supposed to register a company? So they'll help you look at it. And then for share capital, for a company, does this share capital tally with the requirements that we've laid out, or that the body in charge of such a business has laid out, or what the government has specified? So all of these would be what they'll consider. And then address, is it traceable? Because in as much as CAC registration is done online, they also verify these things. So you have to give them explicit address, something they can trace, and they can confirm that, yes, this organization or this business is actually located at this place. Because once you have the certificate, it's assumed that you are carrying on legal activities for you to have registered a business under the Corporate Affairs Commission, because they would have done their due diligence and all of that. So they do all of this. And if you've been found to be in compliance, then the registration would be approved and you get your certificate and status report. So the status report contains your particulars, also that of your business, your residential address, service address. So if there's any document that is to be served on the company, it will be served on the address that is provided, your email address, what the business is into, and all of that. So that's for registration of company. And now for cost of registration. So the approved government fees for registration of a business are these. So for a business name, it is 10,500, exclusive of bank charges and all of that. So this fee can change. So let's say you are registering a business and such a name is not available. Remember, I told you that for every name reservation you do, money goes. So it can be double. So if that name doesn't comply with the requirements for name reservation, your money would have increased from this 10,005 or from the 19,000 plus to something else. So it just keeps multiplying like that. So for this company limited by shares, this amount is for a company with a share capital of 1 million naira. So if your company has more than 1 million share capital, then the fee would be higher, because it's after 1 million, the fees are calculated differently. Government calculates your fees differently. And then stamp duty is not here. So also factor in stamp duty, which is about 0.75%. So stamp duty would be paid for companies limited by shares. Then for NGOs, you have 40,000. So this is just the government fee. The money to be spent for newspaper publication is not here, and some other things. And then company limited by guarantee, limited partnership, limited liability partnership. So these fees are just what CAC would take as theirs. They would also charge you for stamp duty, but that fee is not here because they determine stamp duty after payment of these fees. So like I said, these amounts can change if your name, depending on name reservation, or if they decline a particular application, then you have to, of course, spend more money. So, and this fee is not inclusive of our professional fee. So you may be wondering, oh, why is the money different from what is on our website? So what is on our website is inclusive of bank charges, our professional fee, and some of our expenditures, and to ensure that you do not go through a lot of stress. So why should you choose us for your business registration? At Firmos, we prioritize your interests and we follow your instructions to the latter. People that have registered business for can testify to the fact that from the very moment I want to reserve a name, I carry you along down till your certificate is out. So we would ask you for a particular name that you prefer, and also look to ensure that that name is in compliance with what the government requires. So we would make sure that in as much as you want that particular name, it complies with what the government wants. And would also ensure that we register your business under what you are doing. You know, for some people, they might want to register a business and then their businesses are registered under a different nature of business. And you start wondering, how did it happen? That's not the case for Firmos. We prioritize your interest, because we know first we need to satisfy you as a business owner to ensure that our service is highly appreciated. So we'd follow your instructions, and then we are quick to respond. We have great customer service. So immediately your name is approved, would let you know, would inform you, just in case you might have a change of heart, because sometimes people can decide that, okay, this name was approved. I don't think I want to use this name anymore. I'm no longer feeling the name, or I just feel like I should change the name to something else. Since you haven't uploaded my documents and I still have 60 days, let me try and reserve another name. If I get that, fine. If not, I might just go back to the name that was earlier reserved. So we always inform you, we carry you throughout the process, and then we speak to you nicely, because that is the most important thing, to ensure that the person that is communicating with you considers you, speaks to you like a human being. So our customer service is great. And it will also interest you to know that we have an installment payment structure in place. So if you don't have all the money to pay for your registration, we'll allow you break it down. So you make a certain part payment before registration, and then after registration, you are allowed to complete the payment. And our fees are customer friendly. We consider you for your pockets for a lot of things. And our packages are great. As you would see on our website, we don't just do business registration for you. We also take our minds to what are important for your business. So like getting you a tax identification number, helping you open a corporate account for the business, because those are some of the things that customers would look out for while interacting with you. So when they see, oh, this business is XYZ and I'm making payment to BWY, they start wondering, how does it correlate? Who is this person? And all of that. That's, especially when they are dealing with you online, it raises doubts in their mind. But when your business is this name and your bank account for payment is the same, with tallies with your business name, then they are trusted. You know that, okay, this is something legal. If anything happens, I can always find this business. So that helps them relax. So we assist you with that. And then filing of annual returns for your business after 12 months of incorporation, which is mandatorily required by CAC to ensure that the business is still active. So we help you do all of this. You know, some people might get to some places or might check the portal and see that, oh, their business is inactive. So we help you prevent such situations. And then common mistakes people make while registering their business. So during registration, like I said in the beginning, people use the wrong name. And you know, when you don't have such information, you wouldn't know ordinarily that, okay, I'm not allowed to use this name, or this and this are what I'm supposed to do to use such a name. So using the wrong name, you don't have to make that mistake again. We've learned that today. And then registering a business with the wrong share capital. So if you have a business with foreign participation, you need to know that you can register that business with the same share capital that you would register a Nigerian owned business. Say For example, you have a business with a foreigner, you can't register it under a business name, even though you would ordinarily, as a Nigerian, be allowed to register your business under business name, because business name is provided for only Nigerians. So only Nigerians can use such a form of registration. When you have a foreigner, you can't register it as a business name. You have to register it as a company. And not just as a company, the share capital is 100 million for foreign-owned businesses. So if you were not aware, you would register your business with the wrong share capital. Then registration of business without market research or carrying out proper due diligence. So at Farmers Advisory, we help you do market research. We help you do proper due diligence to ensure that you are not just going out into the industry or into the market space or whichever space your business is breaking into without proper knowledge on how you can thrive in this industry.
Please, can you hear me?
We can hear you now.
Hello, can everyone hear me?
We can hear you now.
Hello.
We can hear you. Can hear you.
Please, if you can hear me, just respond. Just say yes.
Done.
Yes.
We can hear you. So
Yes,
please go
done.
ahead.
Okay. So we help you do proper due diligence and carry out market research before you embark on such a business, to make sure that you are making the right choices, and to also help you make proper financial plan, because registering a business with a 30 million share capital is not the same with registering a business under 1 million share capital. So we'll do all of that for you. And we also, like I said, we're accredited CAC agents. So we register your business properly. We can always go back to reprint your incorporation documents. So all of the benefits attached to registering your business with an accredited agent, you would get that. And then lack of proper documentation. So when registering a business, you need 13 documents to register your business. If you do not have this, you would be going round in circles, just with like when you are using the wrong name, you wouldn't know what the problem is. You just be going round and round until you finally discover that, okay, this is what I should have done. So we help you avoid all of these things. So these are common mistakes that people make, and hopefully after this webinar, you would be better informed on not making such again. And then after registering your business, so you've successfully registered your business, you've gotten your incorporation document. What next? You might be wondering, what are some of the things that can be done to ensure that, okay, your business scales, your business can apply for grants, your business can take loans, because every business needs money to thrive. And because at the end of the day, profit is the focus. So to ensure you reach your goal, some of the things you need to do is to file annual returns with CAC after 18 months of incorporation. So as a new business, you are allowed to relax for a certain period of time. You don't need to file annual returns immediately. You are given 18 months. And after 18 months, you're expected to file annual returns yearly. Now, the implication of this is that for some people, they might feel, even if I don't file, nothing will happen. I can just keep going on, carrying on business. But that is not true. When you don't file annual returns, your company would be put on inactive on CAC portal. And you know what that means? Anybody can go there and look at it and they see that, oh, this company is inactive. What that inactive simply means is that CAC is not aware whether you're still functioning. They are not aware whether you're still carrying on business, even though you're expected to notify CAC if you want to close down your business. So they are not aware. They put it on inactive, it's on red. When you want to apply for visa with your business documents, you can't apply for visa. You have to pay your annual returns, file your annual returns. And when you don't file annual returns when required, you'll be liable to pay fines. So it's more money for you. So it's better you do it yearly as a business owner to ensure that your business is in check. And also, when applying for grants, they do all of this check. When an investor wants to partner with you, they go to do all of this. That's what they call due diligence. So they do all of these things to ensure that the business that they want to put money in or put expertise in or put their work in is not something that would not yield interest or something that would lead to loss. It's a business that is functional, that has their house in order. So they do all of these checks. And when you've not been filing annual returns, you're in big trouble because then you'd have to pay for fines. And if you haven't been filing for a long time, that's a lot of money to give to CAC. So it's advisable you file annual returns as and at when required. So next is obtaining tax identification number for your business. Now, tax identification number is similar to BVN, your bank verification number. It's just like an identification number for your business for tax purposes, not just for tax purposes, for other purposes. So when you go to the bank and you want to open an account, they would ask you for your tax identification number. They would ask you for your incorporation documents for the business. So you need this number for that purpose. You also need it to pay tax. You know, the government requires that certain taxes are paid by businesses. And you also need it to apply for tax clearance, to get your tax clearance certificate and to apply for tax holiday. So just like the Startup Act, I know a couple of us might have heard about the Startup Act or some other laws that are being put in place. So if you don't have your tax identification number to start with, which is the first stage, how do you even go ahead to enjoy some of these government incentives that are being laid down? And also to apply for loans or grants, you need your tax identification number. You'll be required to put it down by certain organizations. Then payment of taxes with the federal inland revenue and also the state inland revenue. So there are some taxes that are for state and some that are federal. So after your business registration, these are some of the things that you need to do. And obtaining a SCUMO certificate. Now, there are certain businesses that are required to obtain these certificates. So the purpose of this is just to ensure that such a business is not a front for money laundering. So that's the reason you need to get the certificate. When you get to the bank, you will be required to get such certificates for your business. So these are some of the things you need to do after registration. It's not just about registering your business. It's also ensuring that your business follows the law, is in compliance with what is laid down by the government. And then opening a corporate account for your business. So like I had earlier said and highlighted some of the benefits of having a corporate account for your business. These are some of the things you need to do to ensure that your business thrives. And finally, these post-incorporation activities are non-ending because day in, day out, government brings out rules and regulations for businesses. And having a company like Famous Advisory, we are your eyes and ears. We put our eyes out for you to ensure whatever we see that is in your interest, we notify you. Your ears, whatever we hear that is required for businesses, we notify you. So just like running a money lending business, there are laws that are put in place. Oh, you have to, if you're a digital lending business, you have to register with the FCCPC. If you're a business owner, you have to ensure that your services are in compliance with what is laid down by the Federal Competition and Consumer Protection Commission, which is the FCCPC. So you have to comply with some of these rules and regulations. Same as running a financial technology business, you have to ensure that you follow some of the things laid down by CBN or whichever body that is in charge of your business. So these and many others are the activities that you need to ensure you comply with, or the things you need to comply with. Now, post-incorporation activities are not ending. It's continuous as far as government continues to bring out rules and regulation. Aside rules and regulation, there are laws, already existing laws that people do not even know of, like the share capital for foreigners. Very few persons know that it has been increased. So it was formerly 10 million naira for a foreign-owned business, but now it is 100 million. So if you are not aware and you registered a business with foreign ownership, say 10 million last year, and then you are still not aware, that's non-compliance. So the government can visit you. You might be told when some checks are being done, oh, no, your business is not in compliance. You're required to do 100 million. So when you want to renew your business permit or apply for expatriate quota, they would look at it and say, okay, this is a foreign-owned business. How come your share capital? So these are some of the things that you would need to do to ensure that your business is in compliance. And having Famous Advisory as your team, compliance team, we would help you, notify you as at when appropriate to increase your share capital to what is required by the government, or do that which is required by the government. So that's it. Thank you so much for listening. I hope you have gained a lot. This learning process is never ending, especially with post-incorporation. There's always one or two things that you need to be aware of as a business owner. So we would advise that you reach out to us whenever you want. You can book consultation sessions with us for your business, and we'll be willing to help you. We're ever ready to help you. So I hope you enjoyed the presentation. Thank you.